we need to talk about etudes. I feel like I've recorded a lot of them on YouTube, and there's a huge amount of etudes recorded on YouTube, not just by me, but actually a lot of other people. And that's kind of good, but kind of bad at the same time, because it creates a lot of noise and it's hard to tell which way to go. And I'm going to try and hopefully shed some light in this video, desired path, how to learn and how to get value out of these etudes. I'd like to start by pointing out that this video is kind of targeted for people who are in the beginner level range of learning violin. Not absolute beginners who are just learning open strings and still learning how to read the notes. No, but also not intermediate level players who are already ready for Kayser. No, we're talking about beginner, basically anything between absolute beginner and intermediate. This video is for you. All right, let's get into it. So etudes are specialized exercises for players to get more technique, obviously. It's sort of like going to the gym and doing some, weightlifting or cardio or what have you. So if you ever find yourself going to the gym and you see all these different options to work out and you don't know where to start or what exactly to do, well, this is sort of the analogy of that, but for the violin. And what makes Wohlfahrt etudes so effective, and by the way, there's three main opuses that he wrote: Opus 45, Opus 54, and Opus 74. Those are the three mostly used in today's school of teaching of violin, and majority of players learn Opus 45. It is considered to be like the universal go-to source for learning basic technique. And why? Because, well, they offer huge range of different interesting things for beginners to address. Like for instance, from the very first etude to basically book 2, which is in the number 25, I think. There's lots of etudes in the first position where you're learning multiple different valuable positions, like major positions, naturals, flats, how to play in B flat, F major position, things like that. How to handle string crossings, how to handle synchronizing the left hand with the right arm. Basically, there's a pretty large list of foundational technique moments that players go through, and that's what makes these etudes so valuable. But how do you practice them? For how long? Well, this is a good topic to explore with your violin teacher. I'm assuming you have one. But if you don't have one, that's okay too. Hopefully I will help you, steer you in the right direction, and then you'll sort of decide for yourself what's the best way forward. The reason why Wohlfahrt became so popular is because these etudes are approachable. Because anyone who can more or less read the notes on violin and understand how the notes translate into sounds can get started with Wohlfahrt. Don't think of these etudes as just technical exercises and nothing more. That's wrong. This is where people get it completely wrong. And it's important to approach them as musical pieces, as you want to make them not etudes, but actual musical pieces that you would want to listen to yourself. So playing them in such a way is not easy, it's tricky. And that's what most people, I think, in my opinion, fall short of what Wohlfahrt would want to see, I think, or hear. So understanding this and learning each etude in a way that it actually is really good is critical. So starting with the first etude, go through the basic text. What I mean by basic text is make sure you get the notes right, make sure you get the rhythm right, and dynamics. So in terms of dynamics and any kind of extra remarks, Wohlfahrt is a little stingy. He doesn't give us a whole lot to go by, and that is by design, I think. Although there is no documented reason why he was so, stingy with his remarks. I think is because he wanted the players, the students, to have the freedom of expression, the freedom of interpretation, the freedom of making these etudes their own, making them sound how they see fit. And that is important to understand. So if you feel like, diminuendo or crescendo, or, adding some flair to these musical little etudes, go for it, do it. And that is why I think the Wohlfahrt Opus 45 is so valuable. Such a great resource for violinists today. Use it, enjoy it, get value out of them. When I was learning these etudes as a kid, I had to learn a new etude every week. The teacher would assign me an etude, and my job was to really get to know it, really play the notes well, make sure the intonation was good, rhythm, fingerings, make sure everything was exactly where it's supposed to be. And on top of that, I was also expected to memorize the pieces, you see? And that is, well, not very widely used, I think, today, which is a shame. I think we need to exercise memory more. And I encourage everyone to memorize these studies as you go. Memorize as much as you can. It's really good for you. Interestingly, there are some methods, such as Suzuki method, that don't really believe in etudes very much. I tend to disagree with them here because I think you can get a lot of value by playing etudes. You can get a lot of technical foundation in a lot of other interesting skills that will help you play all kinds of musical things and enjoy them. So this is where I think I would absolutely want all my students to go through the Wohlfahrt book as much as they can. Do you have to play all 60 of them? Preferably yes. If not, well, maybe you and your teacher can select the requirements, the ones that are absolutely must. But I would do all of them, honestly. If you want to achieve some good results on violin, it can hurt, So start with a plan, practice every day, and you'll be able to play all the 60 etudes faster than you think, I believe. It might be harder to get started, but once you get going, you will start cracking them, I think, a little bit faster and getting value from each etude. But getting too fast through the book is also not recommended because you don't want this to be a kind of a blur and a mush in your mind. Instead, try to remember each etude as much as you can and carry it with you so it's not out the window before you know it. That wouldn't be good. I'll play a short fragment of Wohlfahrt, Etude number 1 from Opus 45, Book 1. Right, that is like the Swiss Army knife of the etudes business. You learn so much, especially if you take advantage of those variants that he's giving us. Oh wow, there's like lots and lots of value in every one of those little variants. So take advantage, seriously, you cannot go wrong. If you want to learn, if you want to grow, if you want to make impact on your violin learning path, this is a great start. Now let's look at another excellent collection of wonderful etudes I often give to my students to practice. It's Hans Sitt Etudes. It's 5 books, Opus 32, 100 etudes. It's a lot, and again, probably don't have to play all of them. I certainly haven't played all of them. I haven't even recorded. I recorded most of them on YouTube. And here's the playlist, by the way, you can see it. But selecting the best, depending on which parts you're working on, which parts you need improvement with, then that is going to be really important to focus on. So let's take a look at Sitt. Let me play Etude number 2 for you so you can kind of see the musicality of it and some interesting phrasing that happens along the way. Right, like so, you carry through the whole etude and try to make it as musical as you can. And this is number 4 from the same book with B flat finger placement position and some interesting rhythms, counting, and of course bow distribution, among a few things. Let's take a look. There's lots of interesting moments here. There's these etudes are a little bit more musically enriched, I want to say, as compared to Wohlfahrt. And they also offer a lot more, simply a lot more quantity. There's 100 of them. So there's some double stops moments. There's position playing, and yeah. Now, you don't have to play, like I said, all 5 of these, because it's a lot. I understand that. So try to work with your teacher on developing a plan which etudes will provide you the most value. That is not very hard to do for a qualified teacher, and they should be able to help you. And if you don't have a teacher, well, try to think like this. What are my weaknesses? What are my weak points? And where can I get the most value and see the most growth? Like, for instance, if I struggle with détaché, okay, focus on détaché etudes. If I struggle in first position, all right, that means you need to spend more time in first position playing and really getting to know those notes, okay, so on and so forth. If you struggle with spiccato, all right, focus on spiccato-centered etudes, so on and so forth. I think you get my idea. And that's probably exactly what the teacher will recommend you do. And so yeah, proceed with that. That's a good idea. Generally speaking, your goal is to go from easy Wohlfahrt etudes to tricky Kayser etudes, which can get pretty tricky, especially in the end of the book. All of that should be completed before you start thinking about Kreutzer etudes, generally speaking. And that is a kind of a path that takes usually a few years, depending on the frequency of studies, depending on intensity, depending on the focus level and determination and consistency. There's a lot of variables here. So it's hard for me to give you a definitive timeline, how long it's going to be before you start getting to Kreutzer and leveling up, so to speak. So this is important to kind of take into consideration how much you practice, how well do you practice, quality of your practicing, and how quickly are you able to absorb information and deliver results. So remember all these things before you start laying them out on paper and starting to set yourself some goals. Another great book I would add here to the mix is Dancla, Melodic Studies, Opus 84. I've also recorded this entire book on YouTube, completely free of charge. Feel free to check it out. The playlist link should be somewhere here. These are wonderful, wonderful etudes and excellent for developing sense of musicality and musical phrasing, as well as basically all the same of the things that you'll see in Wohlfahrt, except a little bit enriched. So you see bow articulation beefed up a little bit, the left hand work on steroids, things like that. So you kind of growing basically out of Wohlfahrt into a more complex book that will help you level up faster. So it's a great book. Don't ignore this book. I would do as many exercises out of this book as I can, honestly, because you will absolutely get value if you play all these etudes in a musical way and really approach them as quality musical pieces that will help you propel forward. And finally, let's get to Kayser. Kayser etudes are awesome, and they are basically the final step before you start getting in the Kayser. So approach Kayser in the same way that you would approach Kreutzer book or anything else, higher level, a little bit more intensified, a little bit more enriched, a little bit more musically interesting, a little bit more demanding, a little bit more fascinating. There's basically more of everything. The first 10 etudes of Kayser are in first position, and then it starts introducing positions, and you start climbing the ladder of musical progress on violin, which is really cool. Once you start feeling like you've grown and you're starting to feel like you're ready for Kreutzer, you're getting pretty close to intermediate level in violin, and you have a pretty good set of tools that will help you successfully navigate Kreutzer book. And that is a subject for another video that I will absolutely make for you guys. If you have any suggestions, if I missed anything, if you wanted to add something, please let me know in the comment section below. I will do my best to read as many as I can. Thank you, and see you in the next video.